Okay, well, I'm Joseph Hale, and for those of you who don't know me, I am very political. For those of you who unfortunately do know me, you know what's coming next. So, as most of you will know, well, the ones of you that live in the United Kingdom will know that it's the general election today. Now, obviously, this goes without saying, I mean, you've probably heard it over the past however many months. You must, well, no, you don't have to, because obviously that defeats the point of being in democracy. But it is advisable that you vote, because obviously I mean, it's it's a big deal. It's like it's who's going to be ruling your life for the next 5 years. So obviously we live in a democracy, kind of. Well, technically, although a lot of people quibble over that fact. But I think we live in a democracy. I like to think we live in a democracy. Now, obviously, the point of a democracy is having a country that is there and having a government that is there to serve the people. Because obviously, we make up the country, kind of, like in a non-personification-y metaphorical way. I digress. So obviously we are a democracy, and so we have that ability to decide. We have that ability to give our say. Now, obviously, there are a lot of anti-voting arguments. So the whole I don't like any of the parties, so I'm not going to vote. And it's like, okay, fair enough, but by not voting, you're kind of giving your permission anyway. So let's think for a second. Say worst case scenario, in my opinion, UKIP gets in. All of those people who didn't vote have um, contributed to that. They've basically said, well, if UKIP gets in, then that's fine. I mean, I don't care. And I know that if I were to go up to people in the street and be like, do you agree with this? Do you agree with that? They would care. I mean, no one sits there and is like, I don't care how the country's run, because everyone does. So, obviously, I understand the fact that people don't like the parties, people don't like the party leaders. I mean, I don't like Nick Clegg, but most of my friends would consider me a Liberal Democrat, but I really don't like Nick Clegg. But, so, obviously, yeah, people don't like the parties. It's like my family. They hate the parties. It's like my mother goes on and on and on about the fact that she don't like any of them and they all chat bollocks, basically. But, as I explained to her, you can just go to the poll station and just spoil the ballot, which is where you get your election card, you get your pen, obviously, and you just draw a line through the entire thing. Or you write at the bottom, neatly, obviously, it needs to be legible, none of the above, which is different from obviously not voting, because they have to count that. They count that as a vote, as a person saying, I don't like any of you, sort it out. Whereas not voting, they can turn around and pretend you don't exist. Effectively, they can just be like, well, he doesn't have an opinion, so we can do what the hell we want. Whereas, I mean, phrasing it this way, you are electing the person who is essentially going to rule your life for the next 5 years. Now, as teenagers, many of us would have rebelled against our mothers or our fathers. I know I did. Jesus Christ, my mother and I used to argue like nobody's business. But, so, why is this any different? I mean, really? So, by spoiling the ballot, you can get away with not voting for any party, but you are still voting. You are demanding a solution. You're not just saying, yeah, you're all crap, but so what? Now, Hmm. Just, I mean, I'm going to sound positively Athenian here, but I consider voting to be a civic duty. I think that we should all not be made to vote, because obviously, again, that defeats the object of a democracy. But I mean, in my opinion, there's a um, culture of political apathy in this country, which obviously the conspiracy part of me thinks is being fostered by the government, but that's totally different. I don't have enough time to cover it here. So yeah, because I've noticed it, especially among the youth. It's like there's an overarching attitude that I can't do anything about it, so why should I waste my time? And it's like, but that's simply not true, because we can do something about it. And I mean, it falls to us as the younger generation, as the people who will inherit this country, to do something about it. Because I mean, think about it. In a couple of years, we are going to inherit this country, we're going to be left with the mess. I was going to swear then, although I've sworn earlier in this video. I digress. We're going to inherit the mess, and we're going to have to clean it up. And I mean, I think it makes good sense to attempt to mitigate that any potential damage now. Because I mean, think about it. Then we won't have that much to clean up. But it's just it is really important. It is really important that you vote, because if you don't vote, you're allowing them to silence you. And I mean, I use this argument against my mother. She's like, I don't vote because they're all crap. And it's like, well, firstly, you're allowing them to silence you, and I mean, I'm your son. I know you don't like being silenced. And on another note, her being a woman and all, I mean, obviously, as she's my mother, she's a woman. It's disrespectful, because I mean, think of all the women who fought and died so that women could get the vote. And I mean, going further back, think of the people who fought and died so that we could vote, that we had the right to vote. Because I mean, think about it. I mean, the idea of us living in an absolute monarchy is, in this day and age, positively archaic. None of us would want to live in an absolute monarchy. But yeah, okay, so we're electing the people who are going to rule our lives for the next 5 years, but at least we have a say. And I mean, on a different note, I believe, it's my opinion, that if you don't vote, you don't get to moan about it for the next 5 years. And let's face it, if there's one thing the British people love doing, it's moaning. I mean, I know part of the reason I'm voting is so that I have the right to moan about it for the next 5 years. But no, I mean, I'm voting because, obviously, I care about it. Not to say that people who don't vote don't care, because obviously that would then undermine the entire message of this video. But it's just like we need to strive to take this country back, because this country, a democracy, is, I believe, a country of the people, for the people, and we have the power to we have the power to determine our own destinies. Oh God, I'm going off on a philosophical bent now. Rein it in. But we have the power. We must exercise that power, because it falls to us to determine our lives. It falls to us to decide how we're going to live. And I mean, on a grander scale, we're going to inherit the Earth soon. We're going to inherit the whole global community. And the basis of a good Earth, I suppose, that's a really inarticulate way of putting it, but I digress, is having a strong government. And we're never going to have a strong government if people don't vote. So, I guess the entire message is just please, please, please go out and vote. Because, I mean, on May the 7th, there's nothing more important to be doing, I guess. Unless, of course, you're a doctor and you're performing like life-saving surgery. But even then, you should make time. But just please vote, or spoil the ballot, or just do something. Get involved. I mean, preferably vote. I mean, obviously, don't do a Guy Fawkes and go blow up Parliament. But just vote, because there's nothing more important. And okay, right, but I'm gonna. God, it's 10 minutes. Jesus Christ, I'm sorry for subjecting you to this, but I'll sign off in a minute. If with the election coming up, there will be a lot more videos of a political nature. Sorry. So if you want to hear me ramble on and on and on, then subscribe to my channel. If not, by all means, I don't blame you. But okay, just please vote. Thank you. Bye.